Okay, I'm here with head coach for Wartburg Track and Field, Coach Newsom. How you doing today, Coach?
Doing fine, you.
I'm doing good, doing good. Okay, my first question is, when did you start coaching track?
This would be my 25th year here at Wartburg. And prior to Wartburg, I coached 4 years prior to Wartburg. So this is probably year 29 total of coaching collegiate track and field.
Okay, and why did you choose to coach this particular sport?
Well, for me, I had two loves in high school and elementary growing up, and middle school, junior high, high school, and those two loves in sport was football and track and field. Track and field was the first sport that my mother put me in as a child, an inner city kid, poor kid. It didn't cost much money to have me be involved in the AAU summer track and field program. So it was just really my first passion, and so a combination of being around other kids in the community, combination of having coaches, passionate coaches in the city, um, giving us an opportunity to have another out and not get involved in the mischief of the city. So it really was the first sport that I ever participated in as a youth, and that just carried through the rest of the course of my lifetime. And then obviously football, I was very passionate about that. But track and field kind of was that foundational sport that I competed in as a youth that has made a significant impact in my life.
Okay, what is your main goal as a track coach?
Well, track and field, unfortunately, at times is looked at as an individual sport, and I will tell you, my number one goal in coaching this sport is for everybody to understand that without a training partner, training partners, without a coach, an athlete can't achieve at a high level. So, I really want us to shift that gear and not look at it as an individual sport, but look at it as a team sport. I don't believe you can win, championships if it was just based on one individual or a few individuals here or there. You gotta have quality numbers competing in the championship, and that to me looks as more of a team sport than an individual sport. There is an individual component to each to track and field, but I think that there's a huge component in terms of trying to win conference and national championships from a team perspective.
Okay, who is your biggest influence to be who you are today?
My biggest influence would be my mother, hands down. Best coach I've ever had, and she never coached me in track and field. Never coached, but she could just raise two kids in the inner city, protected us, wanted us to be successful and not fall to the pressures of the inner city. And she just did a tremendous job. So I would say that the most influential person who has really impacted and influenced my life is my mother. She's the best coach I've ever had. That's for sure.
Okay. Wartburg is a very very popular track and field program. How are they able? How you guys are able to maintain the top of the IIAC year in and year out?
Well, for us, that's a we want to recruit student athletes who they want to be a part of something special. They want to be driven. They want to compete at a high level. So we have established that tradition of excellence. That tradition of excellence is not just established here, from a standpoint of just from track and field. It's established in the athletic department as a whole. And obviously, we want to be a part of that whole in terms of cross country, track and field, and we've been able to establish that tradition that the expectation is to compete in at a high level, both conference and at the national level. And so that's been part of that tradition that we currently have is those alums that have come before all of our current athletes established that they wanted to compete at a very high level, and that was the expectation, and that has just carried on and carried through. That's the reason for 8 national championships on the women's side, and then being a top four finisher in a trophy team. That's been the expectation, a part of this program for the 25 years I've been here.
Okay, now another question is recruiting. Where is your main targets, and what do you look for recruiters?
Well, I mean, for the number one thing is that you know um, our number one recruiting area is always going to be Iowa in the Midwest. I would still say 85% of our student athletes come from Iowa. The other 15%, come from other areas in the Midwest, come from Florida, from Texas. So we're going to definitely diversify that last 15%. We really feel like we want to bring in kids that's going to be difference makers for us from out of state, and really change our environment from a positive perspective of competing at a high level. Um, my number one philosophy in recruiting is I want a true student athlete first. I want someone that's definitely committed to their education. That's the number one priority in chosen Wartburg. The next thing I look for is I want great character. I want uh, men and women of great character. And the third thing is I want them to be passionate about their life, the opportunities that they're presented. I don't want them to just kind of live life motionless. I want them to have some passion behind what they do and some excitement behind what they do. And I want them to have high goals too. So we want to always make sure we're bringing in the right student athlete that's the right fit for Wartburg College and right fit for Wartburg track and field.
Okay, so when it comes to training, what kind of training do you do for your athletes from the fall time to now?
Well, fall is a little bit different. We really want to prioritize the weight room in the fall, getting stronger. And our base training is going to change a little bit in the fall. Coach Norton is in charge of our strength and conditioning program, and she's going to mix things up a little bit. We don't want things to get stagnant, so we really want to get stronger, faster, more explosive, and be able to put some for that longer 4-H sprint group. Put some mileage work in. As we transition over to the indoor season, obviously now we're looking forward and to training in terms of getting ready for indoor conference meeting, indoor national championships, and then we're going to transition outdoors to do the same for outdoor conference, outdoor nationals, and so each event area is different to how we train them. But we have a goal and what we want to do in the fall, and we have a goal what we want to do indoor season, and then carrying over into outdoor season.
Okay, so one thing that I'm pretty interested in myself in asking with your Wartburg program, I see, your whole team, like they have very, very high spirit, no matter whether it's a good day on the track or a bad day on track, these guys are very high spirited. What goes on, behind the scenes at track meets?
Well, I mean, we want to keep a high energy level. Nothing worse having comes easy. And we want kids to be grateful and thankful every day they come here to train. And so I would say just building those great relationships, breaking those barriers down, the natural barriers that we all have, truly, working to become brothers and sisters. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. I think it's very unique to have a program that has both men and women together. Usually they have programs that men and women, but they're separate programs, completely separate. Our men and women are together, so I think that's unique in our own way, and I think we can continue to develop those relationships throughout the course of their 4 years that they're here, where they meet not just the sprinters meeting just the sprinters, but they have relationships with the throwers and the jumpers and the hurdlers and the distance runners. I think that's pretty unique for our sport. So I think those are the things that happen behind the scenes is really developing true relationships beyond the sport of track and field.
Okay, and your Wartburg women's team, they came in first place at the indoor conference championship, and the men's team came in third place. What can be improved going into outdoor season?
Well, obviously, we always feel like we're a better outdoor team than an indoor team. in terms of really looking at our depth and in terms of changing some of the from the indoor events to the outdoor events. We feel like we're a stronger team, both men and women. Obviously, the goal is to win the conference championship on both the men and women's side. That's the number one goal. That is what our focus is. That's what we're committed to. And then we want to carry that over from winning the conference championship. We want to carry that over to the national championships as well. So we got some work to do. We just got to take one day at a time and put one foot in front of the other one, not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay, now, Coach, I know you have like one of the best track and field resumes in the Division III league. I know this is a tough question for you, but with your resume, you could actually, coach at like a Division I level if you wanted to. Like, so why do you still choose to stay at Wartburg where you can easily go to like a bigger school like Michigan or something like that?
Well, I get that question a lot. To be honest with you, and I guess the first thing I'll tell you is the good Lord has kept my feet placed here in Waverly, Iowa, and at Wartburg College. And a big part of it is that I recruit from a holistic standpoint. I want to recruit the whole person. Nothing more is exciting for me is to watch an incoming freshman come in and watch them develop, and then watch them walk across the stage to their senior year in college and get that diploma. It's the investment in the whole person that keeps me here, keeps me grounded. Taking one day at a time with those student athletes who may have struggled as a freshman and struggle, and then all of a sudden, boom, it hits them, and they mature in all aspects of their life, and they're a completely, totally different athlete, totally different young man, young woman, and all of a sudden their athletic ability just blossom. I love the fact that the kids that don't quit, don't give up, they just keep working, and they start finding their way and finding their place, and then they start, saying, okay, these are the things that I will not do again. These are the things that work well and I'm gonna continue to do. And they really find their place and find their way. And so I guess because I'm invested in the whole person, that makes it tough sometimes to possibly look at other jobs and other opportunities. The other thing is, and most importantly, I'm always going to make sure that I follow God's lead, not man's lead, and I always make the best decision of what's best for my wife and my children. And those decisions has been based on me staying here. With the various opportunities and offers I've had to leave, it always come back to family, and always come back to, having God keep me where I'm supposed to be.
Okay. Now, who is your favorite athlete? Like growing up.
Man, favorite athlete. You probably don't know who his name is, but Tony Dorsett. Tony Dorsett was a running back for the Dallas Cowboys. And I would probably say he was my favorite athlete just because he was just a great running back, great athlete. So I would probably have to say Tony Dorsett growing up. I mean, he was just tremendous. Watching him compete was fun to see. So Tony Dorsett for me is the one that kind of sticks out for me.
Okay, so you've been in the game for a very long time, like as a track and field coach. You pretty much done everything a track and field coach can do as far as winning championships as a team and with with individual runners. Where do you see yourself in the future? What more can you do?
Well, first of all, we got third on the men's side, so what we can do is be first outdoors. All right, and the great thing about our season is we have a full indoor season and full outdoor season. So our work is not complete until we get done with the indoor season. I mean, an outdoor season with 2 conference championships. We fell short of that on the women's side last year. We lost indoors for the first time in a number of years, and we came back and won outdoors. But we used to win in both, so we got to complete the task by taking care of both conference championships. So I would say um, there's a lot to do. You shouldn't be in a professional or a sport if you feel like you can no longer grow. And I have a lot of growing yet to do.
Okay, and now let's talk about weather. I know it's pretty crazy outside. Like it's like snowing. During your outdoor season. So like, what do you do? Like whenever it's like like this, and how are you able to like control your athletes? Like make sure like they still get their work in despite having to like adjust to this weather.
Well, I think the biggest thing is trying to keep them healthy throughout the course of this challenge with the weather we've had over the last 3 weeks. All we can do is number one priority is to keep our kids healthy, and that's my number one priority. So not get caught up in being stubborn, and you got to make adjustments to your training. We got to make adjustments to meets. We just got to make the right calls and decisions because if you're not careful, one mistake can cost one of our athletes, entire outdoor season, and we're not going to do that. So flexibility is the key. Got to be flexible, and that's what we keep telling our athletes. And they also got to be ready, and they also have a sense of urgency. So when the weather do clear up, we just got to be ready to go.
Okay, thank you so much, Coach Newsom, for having me today. I'm looking forward to what your team has in store for this year.
All right.